east end of Scarborough.
Welcome to Back Liquid Lunch. I know I got those words mixed up, but
Yes.
you know what I mean.
Yep.
Lay low. I'm loving the lay low today.
Very good.
Okay, we've got Mike Woodbridge here, director of There Goes the Bride, which is, I guess, starting next week? Or is
Next
it just
Thursday.
How many performances are you going to do?
We do 10 performances,
Yeah.
and it's at the Scarborough Village Theatre, and we hope to pack in about 2,000 people over the course of those performances.
How many seats does that theater hold?
260 max.
That's pretty good,
Yeah.
right? Is there a
Yeah.
good stage with...
It's an interesting stage because it's a thrust stage.
Uh-huh.
So we have the audience on three sides. And there's a lot we can do with the stage. So we can have like a typical proscenium set background, or we can go with an abstract set, and we can actually come down the stairs between the audience.
That's really cool.
So it's, yeah, there's a lot of possibilities with it.
Now, are you, as a director, how does that feel to be working with that kind of, you know, unusual or not your regular run-of-the-mill stage?
Well, I actually pretty much started with the Scarborough Theatre Guild 30 years ago, and they used to work out of an old church, and gradually it became too difficult to keep it up with fire codes and things like that. So they approached the city and at Parks and Rec. And Parks and Rec decided they'd build a new community centre in Scarborough. And because we'd had a long relationship with Parks and Rec, working out of their schools over the years prior to that, they decided to build a theatre for us, and 3 groups moved into that theatre. And that was in 1982, and we've been there ever since.
That's amazing.
I know, a lot of people don't know that there's a vibrant community theatre scene going on all around the city, and you know, groups that have been around for ages. Our group's been around for 52 years now.
That's incredible.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like an archive of showing all of the historical moments, the directors through the years?
Yeah, I'm kind of in charge of that, trying to keep archives going.
That's pretty cool, because you can put it all on the internet now, right? It can be,
yeah, we can. We put it if we put stuff on, we put it on our Theatre Scarborough website.
Yeah.
Which the 3 groups that work out of that theatre all are on.
Right.
So, okay, so what's the difference between the 3 groups?
Well, there's us, the Scarborough Theatre Guild, and there's the Scarborough Players, and we do comedies and dramas and thrillers and mysteries, and the odd musical, but not very much. And then there's the Scarborough Music Theatre, who do strictly musicals.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So we alternate in the theatre, and within the space of a year, the 3 groups put on 11 different shows.
Yeah. Do you guys have a lot of fun?
Oh, lots of
I'm
fun.
sure.
Lots of fun. And I think the audiences do too, because they've been very loyal to us. They keep coming back year after year, and we have quite a good.
So you guys, there's the one group that puts on strictly musicals, right?
Just and
you
Scarborough
guys
Music Theatre, and we vary in the types of shows we do.
Is it more work to put a musical together?
Oh, definitely a musical. It's a bigger budget to start off. You got musicians to pay for, royalties for music, and
then you got to do the dances, the choreography, and all that kind of stuff, right?
It's very expensive to put on a musical.
But fun, super fun.
Lots of fun.
Is it more fun to do a musical? Or, I mean, I know it's all fun, but...
I think it's all fun, but I think some are more difficult than others. It depends on the show.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting what you said, that not everyone knows about it, and I find this to be true, because when I hear about plays or different things that are going on, it's usually from people who are involved in theater. But you don't, it's out there and there's a following, but it's one of those things you really have to be on top of it.
That's right.
So have you guys thought about like making sure that it gets out there more for everyone to know about?
We try. We try to publicize as much as we possibly can. We'll publicize in various newspapers, you know, the events coming up, and on the website, and word of mouth helps us a lot. As I say, we got a loyal fan base.
Right.
And there are lots of community theatre groups, and a lot of them all started in Ontario around the same time period in the 50s. And
so why? What happened? Was there something that happened in the 50s?
I think it was that there was a huge influx of immigrants, British-based and European, in the 50s, and they came from a theatre background, and they wanted to offer something that working people could do in their spare time, you know, who didn't want to try and make a living out of it necessarily.
Right.
And so there were a lot of them started. All three of our groups started around the same time. Oshawa Little Theatre, Markham Little Theatre, Curtain Club in Richmond Hill. And that's just in the area around us, in the burbs.
Well, you know,
Makes
too,
sense.
like where I grew up, which was in the Niagara Peninsula, some of my biggest memories was going to community theater. I think I saw Oliver for the first time, and just all kinds of them. I think the Unsinkable Molly Brown, and you know, and these things have really have stuck with me. I mean, I can still see in my mind's eye, you know, relive those performances.
Nice.
Now let's talk about this play. There Goes the Bride. I'm not sure I've ever heard of it before.
It's a
Tell us a little
comedy,
bit about
you
it.
said?
It's a British farce. Our group tends to do a lot of British farces because we came from a British beginning sort of thing when the group started in '58. And so we found that British farces went over well with our audiences, and we also do thrillers, mysteries, Agatha Christie's, that sort of thing. But we also threw in a drama each year and maybe a romantic comedy. And the British farce is different from a regular comedy in as much as it deals more with the situation that's happening. It's an improbable situation involving disguises, identity mix-up, and it's very fast-paced, and there's often some slapstick involved in it. So it's more involved with the situation rather than characterization like a regular comedy, like a Neil Simon, for instance. But they're very well received by the audiences, and this particular one, There Goes the Bride, it was written by Ray Cooney and John Chapman, who, in my opinion, I think it is probably the greatest playwright farcer living. He's put out tons of funny comedies, Run for Your Wife, Move Over Mrs. Markham, Out of Order, Not Now Darling, and some of them have been made into films over the years, comedies. So this one, There Goes the Bride, is one of his classics, and it's a very nice play. It's there's lots of humor involved. It's very fast paced, and like most farces, it ends up on a good note.
That's great. So it's clever, I'm guessing.
It's quite clever, actually.
Which is very nice. So is there a chance of it coming back if it's a hit? Would you guys consider extending?
We have redone some of them over the years. We usually leave a span, maybe 10 years, because of our audiences following us, you know. But we've definitely redone them. We have done this once before, and we've done many of the Ray Cooney farces.
That's great.
Now, as a director, I'm just curious. Are you always a director, or is it
No,
just
I
your
started as
turn
an
to be the
actor.
director this time?
This time I get a chance to be the director, but I started as an actor.
Have you directed before?
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
many times.
All
yeah,
right. So,
yeah.
I'm just curious. Is it challenging to? Because it's one thing to do a comedy. It's one thing to read the lines. It's another thing to really make it funny. And I'm just curious. You know, what's your experience? You know, is it difficult to pull the comedy out of the script?
If the script is well written, it's not so difficult. But there is in comedy certain skills that the actors need, especially timing. And if you can get the right actors, because timing is something that's very difficult to possibly teach anyone. They either have it in them or they don't. You know, for reacting and double entendre jokes and things like that. But if the farce is well written, or any play for that matter, it makes the directing easier. And if you can get a good cast.
Yeah. And I'm just curious about, because you've done this before, and I'm just because I don't know, every night there's a different audience. And there's a different vibe, I guess, or
There's
people
a different
are in
performance,
different moods or whatever. Have you found that sometimes people will laugh at a joke one night, the next night it'll just totally fall flat?
Definitely. Some nights you have an audience that, like I do dinner theater as a direct and act in that too, and sometimes you'll find the audience likes the lines and they laugh at all the written jokes. Other nights they go for the slapstick. You know, so things change, and but that's the way live theater is, and that's that's the adventure of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Keeps it kind of fresh for the actors too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you guys do any, do you guys ever step outside of the theater and do stuff like theater in the park? Because it's that time where it's all starting up
Oh
again.
yeah, many of our members float around to different groups and work with different groups, and sometimes we'll do some stuff in the park. Very seldom, because we have a full theater season within our own theater. But many of our actors move around, and many of them you will see on commercials. Yeah,
really?
doing commercials, and the odd one will move on to stardom. For instance, Tom Cavanaugh, who was in the series Ed on TV for quite a while. He did a show with us back in the 80s, and he moved on to doing professional theater and gradually moved up. And some people who worked with us as they got older worked in Les Mis and that. So, you know, some people aspire to start with community theater and move on to the professional. It's a good training ground.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And lots of fun. Now, and I guess the thing about the community theater is it really is, it's a community thing. And,
Exactly.
And you mentioned the word of mouth, and so you've got your actors and your support people in the cast, and then they know people, and they know people, and they
Well,
know
they're called
people.
support people, but it's very much a team venture, putting on a play.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have the best idea in the world or no idea in the world when you start directing a play. But everybody who gets together, the actors, the crew, the tech people, the set people, it's what makes a play work, because they all get together, they all bring their talents to the board. And because I think because we have a love of doing this, because the people don't get paid to do this. You know, they're doing it, they have daytime jobs, most of the people. Because they have a love of doing it, there's a what would you call it? There's definitely a vibe going there where everybody's working together. Yeah.
Makes me miss theater. I haven't done it in a long time, but it's definitely exciting.
I didn't even know you used to do theater.
I did.
Yeah.
It was very
It's a
nice.
safe addiction. Let's put it that way. Because you get addicted
Where all your
to
other
it.
personalities are allowed to come out.
Okay, so There Goes a Bride. Now it starts next week. What's opening night?
It's Thursday, June
Thursday?
2nd,
Yeah.
8 o'clock at Scarborough Village Theatre, which is at 3600 Kingston Road. That's at the intersection of Markham and Kingston.
Okay, and is there an advantage to go on opening night? Is it more fun? Is there a big party afterwards?
Well, I can only
Free
tell you
drinks,
as
you know, he needs to-
no, we don't. We usually party at the end of the run.
Yeah.
We might go out together after the opening night, the cast and crew, but there's probably a great anticipation opening night, and probably that's the same in any theater, whether it's amateur or professional. There's just that energy.
Of course.
You're pumped, Because
Yeah.
you don't know how the audience is going to respond.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a two-way thing with an audience. The more an audience responds, the better you are on stage. It's
Absolutely.
definitely a live event.
Yeah.
And
That's
this is
great.
going on 10 days straight?
It goes on Thursday, Friday, Saturday
Okay.
of each of 3 weeks.
Got it.
And with a Sunday matinee. And
Great.
the closing Saturday is also a matinee.
Well, it sounds like fun. And how much is it to? How much are the tickets?
Now I think it's $18 a ticket. But if you go to the theater website, www.theatrescarborough.com, you'll find all 3 groups advertised there and the plays they do for the season and all the ticket prices. And I believe you can order tickets from the website too, or you can call the theater, Scarborough
That's
Village
great.
Theater.
And that's a really reasonable ticket price, so.
Oh yeah, and you know what? You can go casual. There's free parking, and it keeps theater alive in the burbs.
Right.
For people who live out there,
Yeah.
who don't want to trek downtown necessarily, or who don't want to pay the higher prices for a professional show. And we do good shows.
Well, I know because like I was saying, those community theater I used to see, like I didn't. To me, it was like it was Oliver.
Yeah.
It was so it wouldn't have made any difference if I saw it at the Royal Alex or
Exactly.
or where
Good
I did
is
happen to see
good.
it.
This whole
Absolutely.
idea
Exactly.
of professional
Yeah.
and non-professional, if it's good, it's good. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of professional things we see out there. I'm sorry, I have to say it's a bit of garbage.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah,
a title.
Yeah, I mean it's whether or not the people put on a good show or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are obviously committed, so I'm sure it's going to be a great show.
Thank you.
Mike, thanks for coming in and telling us about it. Good luck with the show, and you got to come back and let us know about future productions as well.
Definitely. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so theaterscarborough.com. We're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back. Well, where's Ryan?
They are en route, is what
Okay,
I'm
you've been
being told.
texting, haven't you? All right, we'll be right back. ThatChannel.com.
Thank you.
These have got to be the leanest days I've ever seen, but days to reflect upon, to look back on and laugh, perfecting my craft. It's all there, but the money's gone. I should be wishing for a holiday. I should be crisscrossing the city by car. I should be reaching for the keys, instead I'm reaching for the bar.